how to give a tip when you don't give two hoots. Well, welcome to Mark and Pete Live. We have with us Mark, the businessman, who's got an interesting topic to talk about to do with tipping. So what have you got for us today, Mark? Let's jump right into it.
Many of us, as we all know, have been sitting at home, not going anywhere, and not giving any tips to anyone. Now, typically, you would give a tip to someone in a restaurant, possibly in a hotel, or maybe if you've had a workman come round to your house and do some work. Now, the challenge here is that, well, how much do you give? Is it actually really what I would sort of deem as being some kind of social intimidation? The sense is that you should give more beyond what you're quoted. So if you're even sitting in a restaurant, supping away on your fine, sumptuous meal, there is this obligation, unless it's completely stated in the small print, if you could even read it on the menu, that really there's the obligation of putting some kind of extra service charge on, which is fine, but then you give a tip. Well, I must admit that this does cause angst. It also comes down to another thing, which is around the digital world that we're now living in. Yes, it's not just about the physical world. I've seen that Twitter has launched a new service called Tipjar. Essentially, it lets people send money to others via the social network. Is tipping really getting a bit out of hand? I ask you, Clergyman Pete,
Yes.
What's your thought on giving a tip?
Well, businessman Mark, this way of receiving money, the tip jar. It's a way, say if someone likes a broadcast, maybe they'd be able to give it, and that would be great. We haven't got that set up, so no one can do it. But I understand it. I understand tipping when you think someone's done a good service. But I'm not in favour of just the standard of the expectation that you tip. Now, we're in Britain. I understand in other countries it's more common to tip, but it's really been a change in culture in Britain, and that very few restaurants certainly would expect you to tip. And some, until recently, would have signs up, saying no tipping because the service was included, the service charge was included in the price. And so I think that's better. I think what's happening is people are putting the onus on the customer to basically run the HR, keep them happy, keep the staff happy. Whereas I think to pay the correct amount for what the work you're doing is the responsibility of the employers. Well, that's how I would put it. I just think it makes it uncomfortable for the customer.
Yes, and I also think that it's about making sure that you are giving the tip to the right person. I'll give you an example. Sure. You could be sitting there eating your 10-course meal, as you would typically have done
every
in the
day.
past.
Yeah.
Yes. And you wouldn't
10 beef
necessarily.
burgers. Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't. Well, that's on
a good day.
On a normal day, just when you're on a diet. Yeah. Well, what I would say here is you're not necessarily being served by the same person. True, so here's the point: somebody could take your menu order, and then it's served by someone else. I have noticed this in restaurants. So who do you give the tip to? Well, you can't possibly give it to everybody. It's just not possible. Have you ever tried to, tracking down all the people that served you? Here's the other point: what about the person who typically doesn't receive the money? What about the chef? What about the sous chef? And so on? So there's other people. Where do you stop? That's what I want to know.
Well, businessman Mark, I have to admit something to you that, as you know, I'm a director of a little company that runs a coffee bar in which the staff receive tips. Now, it isn't part of the price; it's not expected. It's made clear that you don't have to give a tip, but occasionally someone will want to give a tip, and the money is put into the tip jar, literally a jar, and it is evenly distributed among the people by doing this with it. What they do with it is they, at the end of say in the summer or coming up to Christmas or whatever, it's used to buy a big slap-up meal for all the staff.
Ah, yes. And do they then have to tip the people who serve them on the meal?
Yeah, that's right. But no, so the money is kept, but it basically it could be distributed to everyone. But the staff came to agreement. They thought this was a good idea. It's to have a sort of party together every now and then, which
Yeah.
enhances the sort of the camaraderie of the staff. So it's a good thing to do. But I think it is quite common to have tips being shared out equally.
Now, the problem with that, though, Clergyman Pete, is that you're in a small business capacity there, but
Yeah.
people are using cash less. So when they're handing over their credit card or their normal debit card, paying for a bill, they can't necessarily be sure that that is digitally going to be distributed. I
No,
suppose
they
in
can't.
some
No,
ways,
no.
the dare I say, the tip jar idea of being some kind of digital form, which incidentally is linked to PayPal, which incidentally can potentially expose your email address, which potentially
Absolutely.
could cause issues. I do have some concerns about this whole
Yes.
affair.
Well, yes. It's into the tip jar is trying to mimic the real tip jar in our coffee bar. If you want a tip, it has to be cash. So,
Yes.
but as you say, that's just in a small coffee bar. In a big restaurant, quite often the tip you just write it on your bill, don't you? So
Yes.
it's
Now,
quite something
what
you have
happens
to
if you have somebody coming around doing some work on your house or something? Now, I do have a thought over this, and then of course it's in our
Someone
customary
just
fashion.
okay. So the situation you were setting up is someone
Yes.
comes around, does some work in your house. Maybe they do a bit of
Some
painting
plumbing
or
or
plumbing,
let's say,
whatever.
yes,
Yeah.
or
What do
something
you
like
do?
that.
Yeah. Go on. So that's the situation.
Well, I
What
mean, the key
what
here
happened?
is that if you get good service,
Yeah.
the crucial thing is to have at the back of your mind: are you going to get something added value as something which is, something beyond the call of duty? So let's say somebody needs to change a washer on a tap, or let's say they are producing a new heating system, so that you pay for the product, you pay for the service. But there has to be something that goes beyond it in order to give a tip, in my opinion, because
Yeah.
you're buying something, you've had it quoted, but there is still this obligation
It is.
about
It is
about
the. Yeah, I think that's the problem. The expectation. I'll give you
yes,
another example of someone who does work on the house. I have a window cleaner who comes around and does the outsides anyway, at any rate, of the windows on our house, and he's very good. He's old school. He doesn't use one of these long sticks to spray the water up. He actually goes up
yes,
to each window and probably cleans it himself.
yes,
Sadly, maybe he fell off a ladder. I don't know, but he broke his leg, so
yes,
he was out of action for a bit. But
yes. So the tip
well,
there is to make sure that you have
yeah.
somebody at the bottom
Well,
of the ladder.
well,
Yeah.
well. That's it. That's yes. Using tip in the other sense. A bit of advice. Yeah, don't fall off the ladder in future. But no, he. I don't know how it happened, but he was away for a bit anyway. And
Yes.
when he came back, our window cleaner said, "Well, I won't be charging you the full amount, which was £5, because at the moment I can't really climb up the ladders at all because I still have the
Yes.
problem, still recovering." And so what we did was we paid him double. So instead of paying him half, as he was suggesting, so he was going for £2.50 instead of £5, we paid him £10
Yes.
because we thought, well, he does a good job all the time. I don't want him to be out of pocket. He's had to take time off for this illness, so I'll pay more because there was a personal relationship there.
Well, that's true.
I wanted him to have the money. I wanted him to be well. It wasn't particularly to do with the work, although he had always done a good job. It was, a personal thing. So giving a tip because you like the person is also fine. Any reason is fine to give a bit of extra money to someone. It's the expectation that you should give it. And he certainly, as I say, wasn't expecting it. He was expecting less money. So
Yes.
I think in that sort of situation, that's tipping is fine. In fact, it's the fact that it's when something is a tip is expected, it takes away from your ability really to give tips
Yes.
when it's been good service. Because how much money do you have? You say if someone's expecting, and I was reading actually in some advice from our friends over at Real Men Real Style,
Of course.
just a
Yes.
YouTube channel. They say about a typical tip, they're looking about 20%. Now, if you're
Yes.
giving 20%
That
of
is a lot of
your
money.
pay, yeah, how are you then going to show when if that's for average service, how much are you going to give when it's
Yes.
when it's really good service? So
Yeah.
you're taking away from you. So I think
Yeah.
that
Can you imagine if you had, say, a party of, say, 1,000 people, and you did 20
yeah. Now,
times
that's
by,
their
a head
suggestion.
count of £50 a
What
person?
I mean, do
Yeah.
people really give that? That'd be interesting. That
Yeah.
would be an interesting question. But what the other thing I was going to say is, well, what should you do
Well,
if rather than it being good, the service is
I
actually
have a top tip.
bad?
Yes, no. Well, you see, I have a top tip
No,
here.
go
This
ahead.
is
Yes.
the key. This is my thought here, folks, because I know that you're all waiting for this. Which is the top tip, in my view, is this: take your time and do not tip until you receive first-class workmanship. So keep a grip and never slip, and you'll have a good relationship. The point being here is you have to make sure that whoever you're commissioning does the work properly. And if they do the work satisfactorily, pay them and go on their merry way. If they go beyond the call of duty, then come in and decide to have a tip. Because the point is if a tip becomes standard, then really you've got no incentive. And that's what needs to be the case. I mean, I think that's what the point of a tip is it's a recognition of somebody doing something extra. And that's what I think. When we think about tipping, whether it's be digital, whether it be in a restaurant, whether it be at a hotel, whether it be about workmanship around your home or anywhere else, that's what I would recommend. So
Yes.
really
Well,
try and be strong on that, and don't be intimidated.
yeah, so that's the advice or the tip from Business for Market, and you can take that to the bank. Remember to click like, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your stories, horror stories about tipping. And remember, there's plenty more of these videos out there, so click on one of those. Share this one. Why not? Someone might want to listen to this advice if they had bad experience with tipping. But from Business and Mark and Clergyman Pete, it's bye for now. Catch you next time.